Cheers everyone, and welcome back to Joe's Metal Mancave vlog. Today we're going to have an intimate, yes, intimate look at my CD collection. Let's get into it. Alright, so you're probably thinking to yourself, well, he just showed his CD collection back in the tour video a few months ago. And yes, that's true. And I had mentioned in that video that I was going to do a more elaborate look at the CD collection and just kind of go more in depth and more intimate, as I have titled this video. Yes. So I've been collecting CDs since late 1993, early 94 time frame-ish. I don't rightly remember, but honestly, it's been about 30 years. And you may have, obviously looked at the CDs behind me. They're often behind me in these videos and thought, well, he doesn't really have that big of a collection compared to like some of these people on YouTube or Instagram or what have you. And that's true. It's not as big as it could be or should be or whatever you want to phrase it as. But I'm a person that has always preferred quality over quantity. I mean, just for example, I have never been someone that needs to have multiple versions of an album. I am not someone that collects discographies of bands I like. I collect albums that I enjoy. So, for example, if a band had one extraordinary album or two extraordinary albums, then went to complete shit, like Celtic Frost, for example, I don't need those other albums. I don't need them because they're not good and I'm not going to listen to them. I never wanted to go down that rabbit hole of like CDs being like a card collection or a comic book collection. Like I gotta have every one or whatever. I don't like that. I think it's just hoarding to a point, because if you're not listening to the music, then what's the point, right? So anyway, flashing back to 93, 94, the very first CD I ever bought was Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction, and man, oh man, I mean, this was memories, man. I mean, this was the first album I bought with my own earned money. And it's important to note that when you have your own earned money in life, it's different. Like, I had, some cassette tapes from Guns N' Roses, Skid Row, Ramones, and shit like that prior to this. Like, my parents had bought them for me. And I'm grateful for that, because they could have just told me to piss off and told me that I couldn't listen to that music, but they allowed it, which was great. And it allowed me to then kind of transition to the next thing, which obviously was heavy metal. So yeah, a lot of memories of those old days. And throughout the 90s, though, I didn't really buy a lot of CDs because I wasn't as deeply invested into the underground music as I'd eventually become by the late 90s. And I'm sure anyone that's obviously been into underground, Black Death, or what have you metal has probably gone down a huge rabbit hole of expenses and just trying to get all these albums that they love, because there's so much to absorb. But throughout the 90s, I was very much just into mainstream music, so my collection throughout the 90s was all the mainstream heavy metal bands and, stuff like that. But as time has gone by, I have always, as I said, preferred quality over quantity. And in some cases, I have sold stuff that I regret. But the point I'm trying to make here is that I have bought and sold a lot of albums over the years. Again, some that I regret because now they're worth a lot of money if you go off the prices on Discogs or whatever. And so in some cases there was albums I just didn't get them at the time, and then I looked them up on Spotify and I was like, oh man, this is a good album. Why did I sell this? But then there's been a lot of times recently too where I look up these old albums I have and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense why I sold this. It's an okay album, but it's not great. So the regrets are not as big there. But generally speaking, yeah, my collection would probably be double this if I never sold a CD before. I used to sell a lot of shit on eBay and then later on Discogs. Of course, I've also done a lot of trading. I did a lot of tape trading, this dubbing stuff for people back in the very early 2000s, and CD trading, record trading, all that kind of stuff. And a little bit lesser thing I've done is I've also given people music that they didn't want, or even in some cases, if the music was bad enough, I just threw it out. So with that being said, what makes my collection a little more special than your collection? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, about 3 years ago, I decided to basically file my music in probably a pretty unique way. a way that most people do not file their CDs on their CD shelves. I had to guess most people do two different things. Either they just toss them on there in a completely chaotic manner, which to me is ridiculous, or they do it by alphabetical order. I took it a step further, like a lot further. About 3 years ago, it was during the summer, I was bored and I was overly creative this day, and I decided to basically file my music by genre. And then, you know, that in itself was an arduous task, let me tell you, because I listen to a lot of different music. Like, there's always been this sort of taboo that metal guys can only listen to metal. Fuck that. I am not one of those guys. I've never been one of those guys, and if for some reason you've gotten that into your head over the years, that because you're in metal, into underground metal, that you have to just listen to metal, like, don't limit yourself. There's so much great music out there. And I've done that over the years, and I'm very proud to say it, that I listen to some music that, you know, metalheads would probably call to be poser music or whatever like that, but I don't care. So anyway, I categorized everything by genre, and I broke down my music collection down to about 14 different genres. Now, I had to consolidate a lot of stuff into sort of these bigger categories, I guess. And that wasn't tough. I mean, or that was tough. And, but yeah, a lot of stuff, you know, can fall underneath like a certain umbrella, I guess, so to speak, and that's what I did. But then I took it a step further, and like, this is when things got out of control. So I decided to make what I ended up calling genre markers. So check that out. There's my one for black metal. So I had this scrap wood in my garage, and I was like, and I had a table saw, and I was like, man, I should make some genre markers. Like, originally I was just gonna like put a piece of paper in there, but I was like, I'm more creative than that. I can do better, right? So I made these out of wood. And so I cut the wood, in this case very poorly because I used a circular saw, not a table saw, as I mentioned earlier. And cut it to size, made sure it fit. And then I was like, I can do better than that. I know how to do wood burning. So then I wood burned, in this case, black metal onto it, right? And so then that became the genre marker for my black metal collection. Alright, so black metal, as you'd probably guessed, is my preferred and my usual go-to as far as music is concerned. That's why it's at the top. And another sort of catalyst for this, you know, categorization of music like this was because there would be days where like I would really, really prefer a certain genre of music, you know? And I'd be like, man, I just want to listen to black metal like the next week. And like, sure, I could just skim through my collection and be like, okay, there's all the black metal records. But then when you get to the bottom down here, you might miss something. And that thing at the bottom might be something really good that you've been overlooking all these years. So I ended up basically sort of assembling things on this shelf in like an order that basically sort of caters to my listening habits, I guess, basically. So my black metal stuff starts up here, goes all the way across here, 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 and then eventually stops right about here. So I don't know how many CDs that is in the black metal style. I mean, give or take maybe 300. I don't know. I mean, there's probably 30 per shelf unit here or whatever. And of course, you know, that's not my whole black metal collection. Obviously, I have lots of stuff on vinyl and tape, and then there's like, I have stuff like, you know, little promos and stuff like that sitting around too, so quite a bit. But yeah, now that I have this sort of figured out for my black metal, but I'm in that black metal mood, I can just be like, oh, okay, cool, you know, it makes sense, rather than having to duck down and look at something down there or whatever that you may have forgotten about for a long time. So yeah, that's pretty much my black metal collection. Maybe it's not, again, it's not as big as you'd expect, but I'm pretty proud of it. There is, in some cases, some extremely rare CDs in here, or, you know, stuff that maybe not extremely rare, but stuff that will go on eBay or Discogs for like $50, $60 now, which is crazy because I've never paid that much for a CD. I will never pay that much for a CD, and most of that old stuff I paid like 10 bucks originally. So yeah, that is the black metal collection and part one of my CD collection. So moving on in the collection, we come to what I've decided to call my pagan metal collection. So what is pagan metal? Well, pagan metal to me is a lot of different things. Pagan metal is black metal that is sort of on that like edge of being like both black metal, but then maybe it'll have like folky influences or Viking influences, or you know, stuff like that. Like, for example, I didn't want to file Irregular under black metal because they're so, like, there's black metal characteristics, but it's not a black metal band, right? So that was sort of the catalyst for that. I was like, what can you call Irregular? I was like, I guess Pagan Metal, right? So I ended up, that was sort of where it started. But this also is basically like, and it goes from here all the way down to here. So not a great deal of stuff, but it's basically like, you know, stuff like Irregular or Ancient Rites, Bathory, Falkenbach, Moon Sorrow, the later period Nocturnal Mortem albums. I mean, stuff like that, which, yeah, the black metal influencers are there, but is it black metal? Probably not. So that's my Pagan Metal section. That is the second part of my CD collection. Alright, so moving on, we're going to talk about my death metal collection of CDs, which, as you can see, is not particularly big. It only goes from here to here, so what we got there, maybe 40 CDs of death metal. Yeah, I mean, death metal has always sort of taken a backseat. I like death metal, but for me, I've probably said this before, death metal has a very short period of relevancy in my mind. Basically, you got like the 87 to about 93 time frame, and then death metal is complete shit. Anything released after that, I only like it because it has an old school feel. I never got into like slam death metal. I think that's literally one of the worst genres imaginable. It's fucking horrible. Or technical death metal I hate. I mean, I used to have like Suffocation CDs, but I couldn't get into it. I used to have some of the old 90s stuff from Death. Actually, I had all of them. I never liked it. So my death metal CD collection is pretty small, I guess, all things considered. But yeah, you know, again, you know, there's tapes, vinyls I have of death metal as well, and I would say, for what it's worth, I have a pretty good collection, at least for me, of death metal. So yeah. All right, moving on. Then we have my thrash metal CDs. Yeah, thrash metal. So there's no mistaking thrash metal's influence and importance in my life. But again, much like death metal, my thrash metal collection's pretty tiny. It goes from right here over to here. I have a lot of the classics, and again, you know, over time, a lot of stuff has been sold, for better or worse, maybe worse in some cases, but I don't know, thrash metal's one of those weird genres where it's like, it never really evolved too much from its roots, and maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but I just feel like all of, like, the thrash metal that's come out over the years is all very samey. It's always just, like, paying tribute to, like, Slayer or Metallica or Exodus or Testament. You know, there was never really an evolution. And to be fair, like, I really got, like, back in that 2005, 2006 time frame, and, like, all the sort of neo-thrash bands popped up, like Warbringer and Bonded by Blood. I had all those CDs, and I was really into them for a minute, but it just didn't really last. When all was said and done, I was just like, I just want to listen to Slayer. I just want to listen to Exodus or Testament, and yeah, I guess, you know. But I mean, I certainly have some of the classics, you know, like Possessed, Seven Churches. All the old Sepultura stuff, of course, is, you know, amongst some of my old-time favorites. Sadist, Chemical Exposure, and, you know, a lot of the stuff, too, I used to have on cassette tapes or vinyl, but I'm fucking stupid and I sold it, and, you know, Slaughter, I don't like Slaughter, that's such great stuff. Or I got some of my Sodom stuff filed underneath thrash, some of the other stuff gets filed underneath black metal, of course. Yeah, Agent Orange, yeah, my thrash metal, Stormtroopers of Death, I haven't listened to that one in a while. I wonder if they've banned Speak English or Die off of YouTube yet. Of course, we got all my old Megadeth stuff here. You know, I mean, there's no mistake in Megadeth's influence on me, and, you know, I will forever absolutely love the early Megadeth stuff. And even though I hate everything this band's done the past 30 years, I mean, you gotta love a lot of Metallica stuff, right? I mean, Kill 'Em All in particular. I mean, I got a cassette of that too, like, yeah, probably sometime in 93, 94, and yeah, man, I mean, just, that's where it all starts, man. It all starts somewhere. What else we got in here? Some creator, you know, all kinds of good stuff. Continuing on, then, we come to my doom metal section. Yeah, doom metal. So, much like the black metal situation, a lot of stuff gets filed underneath the doom metal category. So obviously we have, like, the more traditional doom, like Black Sabbath, or the really heavy stoner doom like Electric Wizard, and then of course we have the more Gothic-y stuff like Anathema, My Dying Bride, or even ultra gloomy stuff like Shape of Despair. I love all of that, and it just made sense, obviously, to file it all underneath the doom metal umbrella. So yeah, quite a bit of good stuff here. I mean, I have all of like the early stuff from Anathema, obviously all the old Black Sabbath stuff, Cathedral, Cultus Sanguine, which is a really great Italian dark metal, doom metal band that not a lot of people talk about. Catatonia. I ended up finding all the Catatonia stuff under doom metal, which probably isn't correct at all because they stopped being doom metal like by the mid-90s, but I didn't know what the hell the fucking else filed under this, so whatever. And then, you know, we got My Dying Bride, some Paradise Lost, Pentagram, Reverend Bazaar, what do we got over here? Saturnus, Shape of Despair, some Swallow the Sun, Tristania, Unholy, Witchfinder General, bunch of cool stuff, and much, again, you know, it's certainly not the limitations of my doom metal collection. Obviously, there's more, you know, vinyl and CDs too, but yeah, there's at least my doom metal collection for CDs. We're descending even further into the depths of my CD collection. Now we come to my, I guess what we'll just call my straightforward heavy metal section. So what is the heavy metal section? Well, it's just that sort of, you know, straightforward heavy metal. Stuff like Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell, or Diamond Head, look at that, I got some autographs on that. I mean, Iron Maiden obviously gets filed underneath just straightforward heavy metal. We got your Judas Priest over here. What else? We got my wife's old band Magma Drain, which was a power metal band she did back several years ago. Some of the later period Megadeth stuff, of course, reappears here, even though I don't have anything beyond Euthanasia. That's probably the last get down they made, let's just be realistic about it. A few Motorhead albums, which I actually showed several months ago. Some more, you know, power metal stuff. Got some cock rock with Skid Row, or whatever you want to call it, glam rock, and then finally some, what the fuck was that? Wasp CDs. I love some old Wasp, and yeah, that's just like the straightforward heavy metal section, and yeah. Well then, what is next on Joe's CD collection? Let's find out, shall we? So next we come to the Dungeon Synth collection. Are you guys liking these little markers? I think these are so cool, and I'm like so proud of myself for doing it, even though like they're not really that good looking, or I don't know, maybe they are. But anyway, Dungeon Synth. So Dungeon Synth, in case you don't know about it, is more or less the music, the keyboarded, medievally sounding music that Mortis more or less established back in the early 90s with his albums. Of course, you know, we have all of the classic Mortis stuff here, with like the Stargate and Crypt of the Wizard, Kaiserov, whatever, Fatila Hersky, sure, and in some Gerard Opera. I mean, all great classic stuff in my opinion. I remember I was originally going to file the Dungeon Synth stuff under, was just going to file it underneath like the Dark Ambient umbrella because I have a lot of Dark Ambient stuff. But then I was like, well, I'm starting to collect Dungeon Synth a little bit more, but then as you can kind of see, it didn't really grow that much. I don't know, I don't really know what happened there, but it was supposed to grow when I first started this, like 3 years ago, then it just stopped. So I don't know, I guess as per usual, I probably just started obsessing over black metal way too much, and then just, you know, the Dungeon Synth collection didn't grow too much. But, yeah, I mean, I certainly have some cool stuff, so I hope some of you guys have heard this one. Great album, man, if you've never heard that one. Here's Twa Nufuin from New Zealand. That's really cool stuff. So, yeah, Dungeon Synth, love it or hate it. I love it personally. I've made it myself, so, yeah, that's the Dungeon Synth stuff. Well, then, moving on, we come to my Dark Ambient collection. Not a lot of you guys know this. I don't really talk about it much over here at this channel, but, I am a huge Dark Ambient fan. I have made Dark Ambient music since 2015, and I've been, I guess, fairly successful with it. I guess quite a few people listen to my music, and yeah, I have a few other side projects that are more in like the drone or death industrial noise or dungeon synth, but yeah, my main project, Noctilucanta, has been going since 2015, and I've been a huge fan of Dark Ambient, really pretty much just as long as I've been a fan of black metal. Like, getting into black metal was sort of a catalyst for getting into so many other genres of music. It was it brought about like, you know, dungeon synth, dark ambient, dark wave, neo classical, neo folk, stuff like that. So it's been very, very cool, you know, over these years, just getting into so much different music because I got into black metal. You know, it's amazing. But here we have some classic stuff from Apoptos. What else we got in here? Featuring Carcerate, of course, great classic Swedish dark ambient project. And a lot of you also don't really know this, but I have been doing a dark ambient YouTube channel for many years now. Actually, many years leading up to the creation of this channel, and I just sort of recently brought it back to kind of start working on it more. So I guess I'll be putting effort into both these channels, but if I should disappear off of this channel, more so it's because I'm probably focusing on the dark ambient one. So, you know, you just, like I said, I'm a person that listens to a lot of different music, and I have always obeyed that call inside for like, if my system or my brain or whatever is like, you gotta make dark ambient music, or you gotta listen to dark ambient music, or talk about dark ambient music, I'm gonna talk about dark ambient music. It's really just that simple. And, you know, the heavy metal vibes are certainly always there. They're always going to be there, but they can get pushed to the side sometimes. Sometimes for weeks or maybe a few days, but sometimes months too. So if things slow down here, I'm sorry for that, but I do love creating music too. So yeah, man, there's some Ildjarn. Maybe you guys know them or him. What else we got here? Kamarites, all kinds of cool stuff. I got a lot of the classics in dark ambient scene, fortunately. But anyway, you know, as far as the dark ambient category goes here, I have not just dark ambient. I also put like drone music. I put like my noise music, my death industrial, martial industrial, and probably some of these terms I'm laying out to you for right now are like, what the fuck is he even talking about? Yeah, that may be, but that it all kind of falls underneath that dark ambient umbrella, or to be more specific, the industrial umbrella. But I guess I could have made like an industrial genre marker would have been more appropriate, but whatever. It got filed underneath the dark ambient umbrella instead, I guess. So whatever. You can do whatever you want with that knowledge, or whatever you want to say. I guess, you know, it all has its place, and I'm a huge dark ambient fan. So yeah, if you like dark ambient music, the link to that channel will be in the description of this video. So check it out. So moving on then, from here to here, we have what I will call my progressive genre marker. Yeah, so progressive. Progressive music, at least to me, at least this category, is basically anything that sort of falls underneath that progressive rock or progressive metal genre tag, or even like weird stuff that has progressive tendencies but maybe isn't progressive rock or progressive metal in the most literal sense, I guess. I mean, I file all of the later period, like Amorphous albums underneath here. The later period, like Anathema stuff, I feel has a progressive touch to it. I mean, obviously they lost their doom touch. You got like the progressive death metal of like Barren Earth. Weird that I don't file Edge of Sanity over here, but whatever. And then I have certainly the later period Enslaved albums, because the black metal influences are still there, but it's so minuscule. It would be wrong to call them a black metal. The bad news is stuff like Ghost Brigade I love. That's sort of dark metal progressive. Or like one of my all-time favorite bands from Finland is Kingston Wall. I mean, this is somewhere between like progressive rock, acid rock, psychedelic rock. Really just phenomenal stuff if you've never heard it. I absolutely love Kingston Wall. Really great stuff. What else then? Oh, here we go. This is one of my favorites. Dan Swano's A Nightingale album. That's a really, really good one. Of course, then, yeah, I put the Opeth stuff underneath progressive. It could have went underneath death metal, but I don't think so. So, yeah, progressive death metal, I guess, goes down here, except for Edge of Sanity for whatever reason. Blackwater Park, I mean, come on, man. One of my all-time favorites. I absolutely adore this album. You've probably noticed it. Yeah, you noticed it. Someone was talking shit at some point too, saying he's a poser because he's got a Opeth tattoo. He can't talk about black metal because he That likes Opeth, and Opeth is not cool. Yeah, wow. Fuck you, dude. And then stuff like Porcupine Tree. Love all that Porcupine Tree stuff in the 90s, but they got ultra lame later on. Or here we got Psy. I mean, like, what do you file Psy under? You know, like, yeah, progressive just seems like the logical category there. And then we have Dan Swano. Yeah, man, I mean, my wife, she likes Tool a lot, so she has a couple Tool CDs in here. I don't get Tool. I've tried. I don't get them. Here, you guys ever heard of this one, Vodum? This is a really good, like, Polish progressive metal band. My wife got me going last couple of years. That's really good. So yeah, that is my progressive metal, rock, whatever have you section. Oh God, we're really getting down and dirty now. Now we come to my folk section. Yeah, folk music. I am a huge fan of folk music. To be more specific though, neo-folk music of, for example, Kurt 93, Death in June, Sol Invictus. That was really my introduction to the dark folk, as they like to call it, genre. But over time, I have also gotten into, this is really uncomfortable, I've also gotten into other, like, you know, old folk music, like Nick Drake, as example. You ever heard Five Leaves Left? Such a great album, really great melancholy folk from the late 60s. Or then, you know, I have stuff here like Imperium. Oh man, I mean, I love that. What a gorgeous album that is. And then, you know, also cool bands like Fire and Ice. A lot of the neo-folk bands were very instrumental in sort of creating my interest in like paganism too. When I got into neo-folk, I bought a lot of books on pagans because it was a very prominent theme. And then, what do we got here? Oh, we got some of the Hagalaj Rundan CDs, if I can fucking even get them out of here. Yeah, there's some of those. Of course, maybe some of you know Andrea Meyer a couple of years ago. She got killed in a fucked up attack in Norway. Really unfortunate. But, yeah. Of the Wand and the Moon, Prague 83, which is a newer neo-folk project. And then what do we have down here? We have, you guys have heard of this band, Rome. Really cool stuff from Germany, I want to say. Then we have also some kind of more like this band. I don't like this band's probably 6 organs a minute. It's probably like falls into the folk, but I don't know. It's maybe more singer-songwriter stuff. I don't really know, but I dig it. Fuck. And then we have, you know, Sol Invictus, which I mentioned earlier, one of absolutely the best in the neo-folk scene. Just yeah, man. I mean, what can you say? You know, if you don't know some of this music, I'm always delighted to talk to people about it too. If you are like, what the fuck is this shit? And you know, so I'm sure there's inevitably gonna be someone watching this video going like, man, he's really, man, this guy's a poser, man. He said he was into metal. This was Joe's metal Mancave. Well, you know, yeah, you can't always be into metal all the time, and I'm just not. Of course, here we got Olver's, what the hell do you call it? Kveldsanger album. Yeah, I love that one. So good, man. Here's something you guys might find to be interesting. I did the photography and layout for this album from this Norwegian band named Way. I don't actually know how to pronounce it. How silly of me. But yeah, I did all the photographers. I'm going to show this in another video someday, but I've actually done a lot of, well, not a lot of, but some like photography, artwork, and layout for bands over the years. So yeah, that's pretty much the neo-folk, folk, whatever have you, genre CDs I have. Well then, continuing the intimate tour of Joe's CD collection, we come to my Gothic section. Yes, what is Gothic? I love the fact that like it has that little notch in there too. It seems so perfect for a Gothic genre marker. Yeah, my Gothic genre marker stuff goes from here to here, pretty small. But again, it's Gothic metal, Gothic rock, dark wave, whatever you want to classify Dead Can Dance as, typo negative. But yeah, mostly stuff in that Gothic metal, Gothic rock genre. And like all these other genres I've mentioned here, it could be conceivably bigger, but I've sold stuff obviously, or I just haven't explored it as enough as I should have over the years because metal and black metal have always taken priority, but definitely some cool stuff in here. You know, you got your Bauhaus, of course, your, you know, standard stuff you should have if you have good taste in music, I would say. And then you got old Cure Pornography, fantastic album. Bunch of Cure stuff. Love the Cure, man. Not the wanky, happy stuff though. Oh, it's the dark stuff. I have like Dargard here, one of my all-time favorite dark wave bands. I mean, it could probably be filed underneath like Dungeon Synth too, but whatever. Or Devil Doll, like, you guys know Devil Doll? What do you file Devil Doll under? I guess Gothic, right? The Gathering, I guess that goes underneath Gothic genre, right? Oh, here's another favorite of mine, Lycia. You guys ever heard this one? This album has like a black metal atmosphere while being darkwave. It's an incredible album. Have some of the later period Synth albums. I always like that stuff a lot. And then, yeah, as already mentioned, Typo Negative. I mean, I love Typo Negative. Absolutely adore them. Yeah, every October, as you can probably imagine, me and my wife are pulling that stuff out and listening to it. So yeah, that is my Gothic section. Alright, for these next two, I'm going to talk behind the lens because I don't feel like crawling around and, yeah, I guess you get it. So we get down here and we come to the electronic section, yeah. Another pretty small one, but I figured it was necessary. I have stuff like Coil, KMFDM, 9 Inch Nails, Portishead. I mean, I don't know. The older, or the later period older albums get filed underneath here. Pretty small, but, you know, obviously I needed a section for that kind of stuff because I just wouldn't have known where else to file it otherwise. Continuing to crawl around, we then come to the soundtrack section. Yeah, so soundtracks. I am a huge fan of old video game music. Anyone getting dizzy watching this yet? I have a fairly decent collection, but a lot of this stuff is, you know, very expensive, as they're always Japanese imports. But yeah, also you can see some movie soundtracks kind of intermingled in there. But yeah, man. All right, then finally we come to what I guess we will call the rock and alternative genre tag. So rock alternative, I feel like a lot of record stores, they file a lot of their stuff underneath like the rock pop section or rock alternative. So that's sort of what this became a catch-all for over here. So we have stuff here like Alice in Chains. What the hell was that? What was the remote? You know, stuff like that. My wife has a lot of CDs in here that are from like her youth, like Bush, 16 Stone. Stuff here, like I'm a huge fan of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I've seen him live and it's just absolutely incredible. Yeah, huge fan of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. That seemed just appropriate to file underneath rock, pop. I'm not gonna lie, I like shit like Lana Del Rey for a little while. If I'm just like, I don't know, weird stuff like that can pull me out of a bad mood because it has like a much more happy kind of feel to it. I have some of my punk stuff filed underneath here because I just haven't made a punk genre marker yet, but now that I'm starting to collect punk music, hopefully that'll happen. Some Guns N' Roses stuff. I mean, that's one I've had since I was like, you know, 12 years old, 14 years old, whatever have you. Led Zeppelin. I mean, you gotta have some Led Zeppelin, right? Anyone know this album? Oh man, such a good album. Love. Oh, Arthur Lee was a genius, man. So good. This might seem really weird, and fuck you, but I am a huge fan of the old Oasis stuff. I will never feel sorry for it. I adore it. I love it. Yeah. Then, yeah, my wife has a lot of Seven Dust CDs. She likes them a lot. We saw them live together shortly after we started dating. It was a good show. I'm not a fan, but, you know, it's there. I mean, I also love stuff like The Smiths. I mean, I keep it diverse, man. I love it. I refuse to just, you know, be like this person who just listens to this type of music. And I mean, yeah, if I was that person that just listened to black metal, my black metal collection would be huge. It'd be amazing. And I could go on Instagram and all these videos or whatever and just blow people away. But it's been the central focus, but it's never been the only focus. And because of that, you know, maybe it's suffered. I don't know. I love a lot of music, and that's the whole point of showing this. So I hope you guys have kind of dug this. This is the main CDs, of course. But, oh, wait, there's more. Well, then. Nope, we're not done. You gotta keep watching. Moving on, then we have my box of promo CDs. Yeah! Well, as you guys know, I used to do a zine called Lunar Hypnosis, and I got a lot of promo CDs back in the day. This, of course, is a minuscule amount of what I've kept over the years. I mean, literally had hundreds of those cardboard promos, but a lot of that stuff got resold on Discogs, kind of when Discogs first popped up, because I was like, I don't really need this. This is stupid. But again, regrets, because in some cases I sold some good albums, and yeah, sometimes you just need money, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I love these. I used to love when I got these old promos in the mail, man. These things were so cool. I mean, one of the main reasons why I stopped doing my zine was because I was just sort of fed up with, like, you know, being forced to do this stuff. But at the same time, it was always cool getting these cardboards. Fucking shit, I can't get this out of here, right? It was cool getting these things, because I don't think labels do this at all anymore. It's all just, oh, here's your digital download code off of Bandcamp, or we transfer, or whatever have you know? Yeah, I love getting these things back in the day. There was always something interesting. Yeah, man, I got an old Opeth one there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was cool getting them. I really, really miss it. Look at that. And a lot of the stuff here I haven't touched in years, so it's almost like I look at some of these and it's like a fucking mystery to me what it even is. I got a Moon Sorrow one. Yeah, I don't think, I really don't think labels send the stuff out at all anymore, which really is sad, because those were the days, I guess. Necrophobic one there. Lots of cool stuff. This box is also, you know, in some cases too, bands would just send me like a CDR with like a note or a track list, which, I mean, I'll give them credit for at least trying, because there were certainly bands that literally just sent like a CDR and like a small note saying, hey, we're so-and-so, please review this. Like, what? What the fuck, dude? Sometimes they came in like these plastic sleeves. Anyone heard of Leather Pig? What the hell is that, man? I don't know. Yeah, but there is a lot of stuff in here. Yeah, Deathgasm Records. That used to be a cool label. What happened to those guys? They had some good stuff in that one. What else do we have in here? A lot of the stuff I've tossed in here too is like, I guess like CDR compilations of music. A lot of this stuff is like stuff I downloaded, or I mean, you know, purchased off of Bandcamp. And I was like, man, I should burn these to a CDR, and because ultimately I always enjoy music in a more physical sense as opposed to you know, digitally or whatever. So yeah, some of that cooler stuff from Bandcamp's been burnt over here, and so on and so forth. Yeah, there was a kind of an interesting one from a Noise Project sent me some stuff back in the early 2000s. They put in this little canister, I guess, or whatever. And oh, here's a good one. Who remembers 3-inch CDRs? Oh yeah, they were huge in like the noise and the power electronics, dark ambient scene. I had a bunch of those. I've kept a few of these for no particular reason other than I just don't think I was able to resell them. There's a really good one, Vestagile, Dark Ambient Project. This one even comes in this cute little box. Oh, that's so nice. 3-inch CDRs. If you never heard them, you don't know what they are, keep it that way. They're stupid. Alright, to close out this video, I'm not going to show everything in this particular category, but this is my sort of irregular packaging or box sets kind of stuff. Yeah. So here we have this. Look at that. Comes that sort of DVD size case. We got the Morbid Year of the Goat box set. Oh man, that's some great stuff there. Here's this cute little box of this dark ambient band called Corona Barathre. Super cool. I mean, I love it when bands or labels or whatever just put a little more effort into this stuff. Abbey Gore's Time is the Sulfur in the Vein of the Saints. You probably didn't see that because I can barely see it in the cover, but yeah, that's a really good album. Here's a really special one. This packaging is from Blood of the Black Owl, and it's made out of, it's like in this leather pouch. I mean, how cool, man. Like, someone actually thought to do that. I mean, that's so fucking cool, man. Oliver, it's a DVD, CD live combo. Here's an oldie, very rare. It's a Spectral Lord's second album that comes in this, I guess, box set, so to speak. And I think, you know, I love box sets and irregular packaging enough where I'm going to probably do a separate video at some point. Egglock's, what is Ashes Against the Grain box set. That goes for a lot of money on eBay and such. Night End Division 187's box set from a couple of years ago. It gathers all the recordings. In Slaughter Natives, absolutely one of the best martial industrial projects ever. Rotting Christ, Rituals. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do a box sets and Irregular packaging video someday. Death in June, you know, again, it's digipack, but it's just big enough where it won't fit on a goddamn shelf. How annoying. Dark Thrones, what is that one called again? The Underground Resistance. This is like the last really good Dark Throne. I really like this album. This is a good album to play like when you're just like cruising through the country and like you just need to have music really loud. And yeah, I like that album a lot. The 20th anniversary of Emperors in the Nightside Eclipse. This is a really great collection. You get yeah, an alternative version of the album. Anathema, We're Here Because We're Here. That's a good album. There we go, some more old progressive rock. Beggar's Opera. Yeah, man. North Hunt, one of my favorite dark ambient projects. Here's an oddity. Jacker Jive, they're like a darkwave, neoclassical world music band from Japan. Yeah, weird, huh? And then, did I mention like The Cure? Oh yeah, I love The Cure. Here's The Cure box set. Yeah. And finally, I found this a couple months ago. I meant to talk about this on one of my channels, but this is the Occult box. And I was like, what the fuck is the Occult box? I found this at Half Price Crooks, and it was only like $20 for 4 discs of music, and I was like, I'm gonna give this a shot. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but like, I'm a dork and I'm stupid and attracted to anything that says occult or has devilish imagery. Yeah, whatever. Actually, it's 5 discs, I'm sorry. And there's a bonus 7-inch record of Aleister Crowley recordings, and I was like, I'm biting on this. So this is a weird mixture of like electronic, industrial, dark ambient, even like there's like a couple of rap songs. It's really weird. But yeah, I was like, fuck it, $20, what can go wrong? Yeah. And so there it comes in this neat little box. Has all these, you know, CDs and all this packaging. There's all these like postcards and stuff like that. Like, what is this? It's like, hello, like, there's my receipt. Oh, it was $29 after the taxes and all that. But you get a little pentagram necklace. Like, who the fuck made this, man? This is, I don't know. I just thought it was cool. I had to have it. I couldn't resist, man. Look at that. So there's a little booklet here. I'm definitely going to show this in greater detail on my other channel. It's definitely more appropriate over there. But anyway, then yeah, you get this 7-inch record of some of Aleister Crowley's recordings. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. So yeah, that is more or less Joe's CD collection. So I hope you've enjoyed this more intimate look at my CD collection. Commentary, anything. I'm always eager to hear what you guys got to say. And other than that, thank you guys so much for watching the channel as always, and I'll see you next time on Joe's Metal Man Cave Vlog.